Knowing when to go beast mode is important. Hey everyone, Dylan Schumacher, Citadel Defense. When I was a young man and I was in high school, I was fairly scrawny. I was probably weighing in at like $130, $140. I think I graduated high school at like 145. And I've never been a tall dude, so I was a small guy. And I always considered myself an intellectual, a thinker, if you will. And I grew up liking punk rock and really having a disdain for jockish type culture, right? I was an alternative culture child. And at one point I had a mohawk. It was a great mohawk. Point being here that when I was young, I think I wrongly disdained physical strength or attributes or aggression or that whole kind of thing. I looked at it as barbaric and uncouth and like a dirty Philistine, and me, the true intellectual, I know better, right? And as I've gotten older, I've realized that that was probably just a cover for my own weakness at the time, right? And I got into college, I started lifting a little bit, which definitely helped. And then I read Starting Strength at some point in there years later, and that's helped a lot. And as I've been training guns more and teaching guns more and doing more shooting and thinking about tactical Minuteman preparedness stuff, I've really started to think that it's not one or the other. It's a continuum. And on one side you have like thinking strategy mode. And on the other side you have like beast mode, raw aggression, berserker, you know, that terrifying thing of some huge guy in war paint who runs onto the field and like is uncontrollable. And what do you do with that, right? Like those are the continuums. And for you, for me, we're all gonna have like general presupposed dispositions in there. You know what I mean? Like somewhere you just naturally fall out on that scale. Some guys just love to be beast mode all the time, right? And some guys, again, you don't really want to do that. I'm somewhere over here in the thinking spectrum side of if this is the midpoint, right? I'm somewhere over here-ish. But that should be a sliding scale, sliding spectrum for you based on your situation, right? And I think in Minuteman context stuff, that situation is dictated primarily by proximity to the enemy, okay? And what I mean is, if we're clearing a room, right? We're going into a room. I want all the beast mode, aggression, violence of action kind of stuff that we can get. This is not a time to think. This is not a time to strategize and have an intellectual conversation. This is a time to come in the room, clear your deep corner, and explode violence on anyone here who's trying to kill you, right? Because if you don't, you might die. This is the time to be fearful, and people did war paint in war for a reason, right? Because it's scary. You might say, oh, that's kind of silly and whatever. No, it matters, right? It's scary. You want to be scary the closer you are to the enemy. You want to be intimidating. You want to mentally win the fight before you physically win the fight. And when you get there to physically win it, you want to physically win it with as much violence and uncontrolled rage and prowess as physically possible, right? And then on the other side, I think you have the thinking spectrum, right? Where it's time to think and strategize and not to go beast mode. But the thing is here to think. It's not to run in with raw aggression. And this comes into like battle planning, right? Or if you're some like high-level general in charge of divisions, right? This is where you want to be cool, level-headed, calm thinking, strategy, plotting, right? Like that's what you want. And on the Minuteman life, the Minuteman lifestyle, right? You're thinking about that in a continuum based on your situation, right? If someone comes up to rob you and you have your daughter with you, it's not the time to be strategic and think. It's the time to explode as much violence as possible, right? So your daughter makes it out okay and you make it out okay, right? But if it's, I don't know, a hostage situation or whatever, and you have to take a calculated shot, well, now you're gonna ramp down that beast mode into the more thinking side of things because you need to make that precise shot, and if you screw it up, you're really in big trouble, right? So I just think that that's a helpful guide to me of thinking how we should behave in a certain situation, right? Now, I do want to throw out here why we're positing this whole theory, because that's what it is. There are good counterexamples to that, right? Like if you look at MMA, there's some really good counterexamples. Like GSP, very methodical fighter, right? He's in proximity, he's in a cage, but he doesn't go beast mode. He thinks and he plots and he picks his shots, and you know, now that's a sport. It's not life or death, etc., etc. But I think it's a good counterexample. Like, I'm not saying you can't be a smart fighter, right? Jiu-jitsu in general is probably a good counterexample. Jiu-jitsu is just playing chess with your body. If you're a jiu-jitsu practitioner out there, you understand that statement. That's what it is. It's playing chess with your body. And yeah, there are times to pull hard and be aggressive and whatever, but in general, you're thinking, you're plotting, you're trying to pick your spot, and then you're gonna snap it in. So again, there are counterexamples, and I'm not saying those aren't true, I'm saying on general, your beast mode versus think mode is dictated by proximity to your enemy and how much raw, intimidating violence is needed right now in order to win that fight versus how much thinking and planning is going to win that fight for you. Right? Hope that's helpful. Roll it around a bit. Let me know what you think. Do brave deeds and endure.